Hello, welcome to It's Your Smarter Money with Dr. Laura and Professor Steve. Today we wanted to talk about Social Security benefits and what the potential claiming strategies would be around Social Security, how it impacts your overall retirement planning, because it is a key component of everybody's retirement plan. One of the biggest questions people ask us when they come to us is, when can I retire? Will I be successful in retirement? What can I expect? And again, we want to know that Social Security components. Steve, if you want to switch to the slide,
I just want to mention, we never look at Social Security in isolation from the rest of your circumstance. It really needs to be looked at in conjunction with the rest of your circumstance, your tax status, and a number of other factors.
Absolutely. And your overall situation with your family. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to determine what that success rate would be. And so any good comprehensive financial plan that's custom made, not just a canned program that comes out of a sales office, but a really good comprehensive plan should gather all the various components to find that sweet spot in terms of success rate.
Yeah.
One of the things that we do when we do our analysis is we also make some assumptions. We make assumptions around cost of living, inflation. We make assumptions around return. And one of the things a lot of our clients who are watching this know is when we do a comprehensive plan, we tell you that the success rate is highly dependent upon how you structure your investable assets.
That's
and
right.
So this is just a comparison of somebody that's all in, takes $1 million and invests it 100% in the S&P 500 and says, I can weather the volatility, I'll be fine. And you can see with her case, when we do 1,000 iterations, a Monte Carlo simulation, 1,000 different iterations, her worst case scenario is that she's going to end up with $250,000. Now, that's still not bad. At least there's no worst case scenario where she's going to lose money. But we can improve those odds so much better and maybe even allow her to have more income during retirement. And who doesn't want that? Another vacation, another car, whatever you want to spend it on. So what the second group, this which we call this a steady Eddie type of approach, where it's an all-weather strategy. We found that we were able to reduce the volatility by adding in a lot of those enhanced asset classes that can smooth out volatility. And you can see that his worst case scenario is that he's going to end up with $648,000. And he's almost 100% never, ever going to run out of money.
And this is an example of something called risk drag. And it's the effect of what happens when you have really a volatile portfolio or volatile asset classes. The compounded rate of return doesn't come close to approaching the average rates of return. And unfortunately, as investors, we experience the compounded or stringed rates of return, not the average. And so the greater the volatility, the greater the difference, and frankly, the greater the potential damage to your wealth. So you want a less volatile portfolio. So even shooting for a lower rate of return can actually mean you might still actually have more wealth later on if you have less volatility.
And so this is all well and good. We know that investing does take on a certain amount of inherent risk. We know that if we're targeting, for example, an 8% return over the long run, that some years it might be 9%, some years it might be 2%. We know that, and that creates uncertainty and why we need to do this analysis. Well, can anybody tell me what the risk is in delaying your Social Security one more year in order to get a higher payout? The answer is, unless the government did something extremely radical, which we do not anticipate, because Social Security is such a bedrock of people's future. The answer is 8%. So Social Security is a tremendous asset, and a lot of people discount it and they treat it they don't treat it with the respect it should be treated. A lot of people don't know this 1,700 rules in the Social Security Administration handbook. And there's one phone number. And, it's really hard to get the right answers. A lot of times you won't get all the right answers from the Social Security Administration. And so a lot of folks don't know where to turn to get good advice. And we spend a lot of time trying to understand an individual circumstance and give the best advice we can. And so hopefully we can catch some of those things in this video.
Yeah, and we have access to some specialized systems that help us circle in on a correct Social Security strategy for you, by the way. So I guess you're going to back up, Laura, right? We're going to talk about how it's calculated. And so I can tell you, we haven't memorized the formula. I tried to, but it was kind of
complicated.
It didn't stick. But they do use your highest 35 years of earnings, and they actually apply a weighting scheme toward it. And so what ends up happening is the lower years of lower earnings, they drop off and they don't have as much of an effect. It's really your highest, your years that your earnings are the highest that most affect your benefit. And there is an upper limit on the total benefit for anybody. And I think for right now, for somebody age 70, somebody who starts at age 70, it's around 38.50 in that range is the upper limit for somebody who delays it. So it's pretty high. And by the way, it is indexed to inflation. We know that. And it's been low. It had been low for a number of years. The indexed amount it'll probably be high. Usually, I think it begins in January or February of each year. Probably going to be high because we've seen inflation really a spike in the last few months.
Probably what I think is the most important thing on this page is the concept of, you see a lot of different acronyms on here, and really the acronym for you to know that's the most important is that FRA, which means full retirement age. What is your full retirement age? And if you were born prior to 1954, it's 66. But anybody that was born after that, it starts ratcheting up to 1960, where the full retirement age is now 67. And anybody older than that, born after 1960, it's still 67. Although we believe that's a place where the Social Security Administration has some room to play. And so if you're currently only 40 years old, for example, your full retirement age probably by the time you get there may be a little bit higher. And that's so we're living longer.
I think exactly. They're trying to take into account the lengthening of life expectancy over the years. It was, I think in the 1930s when Social Security was instituted, it was in the 60s, I think, life expectancy, and now it's it's in the 80s, but we see a lot of people, especially with married couples, where one person, if not both, lived to be over 90, and Absolutely. So they could have been collecting Social Security for 25 years or more. It's a long time.
Especially our clients who tend to take good care of themselves, tend to plan tend to be more educated. They are definitely living a lot longer. So we want to make sure that this really top quality benefit with the guarantee every year coming in, regardless of what's going on in your portfolio or in the rest of the world, is a really, really important benefit. But a lot of people will ask us, well, when should I take the benefit? And that we're slanting more to wait to full retirement age. There's a couple of reasons to do that. For example, if you're working, absolutely wait to full retirement age because you get penalized. Your Social Security gets penalized.
Up to full retirement age.
Right. So you don't want to take it before full retirement age. But even if you retire, just because you retire at 62 doesn't mean you have to start taking your Social Security benefit.
You should.
You could potentially supplement that income with income from your portfolio or income from other sources. So, they don't have to be necessarily one and the same. I stopped working and that means I have to take Social Security. And so what do we look at? Well, we look at a lot of things. We want to know your overall health status. We want to know what the longevity has been in your family. Have people lived a long time? You know, what are we expecting for you? We need to know what you really need for income, because by all means, if you need to take the money at age 62, if you don't have enough money to eat or pay your rents, then by all means you should take it. But if you have any wiggle room, the right answer is probably to wait.
Yeah, and also your tax circumstances, something else we look at, because you may have an opportunity to do Roth conversions, especially if you delay Social Security to age 70, which could make sense. You know, it's something, it could be a complex issue. We look at it. We do pretty detailed projections to determine whether it makes sense or not for you.
Right. And people that are married, that's a big one. When
Yes.
talking to you, if you're married, whether you're single, divorced, or married, there are different things that you need to take into consideration. And if you're married, coordinating your benefits with your spousal benefits and other things can make a lot of sense. So we need to make sure that we're taking into account both individuals.
Yeah, and also the survivorship issue, we want to make sure that the remaining spouse, if one dies prematurely, has a large Social Security to provide them with income, because you do lose one Social Security check when somebody dies. So, but you do keep the higher of the two. So if you've waited till like 70, it's obviously going to be much higher than if you started taking it at 62 or even 66, which we're going to show you.
So this is just a little bit of a crazy chart for you to look at here. I chose the full retirement age of somebody that was born prior to 1954, 66, and then it shows how it starts ratcheting up at 55 until 60. So you can see that. The second column, though, actually shows what if you actually take it at 66, even though your full retirement age is a little bit later. And you can see you're taking a hit on the amount of money. Not only are you taking a hit for the amount of money you're receiving this month, this year, but for now the rest of your life. And you're also taking a hit for the cost of living adjustment that's laid on top of it, which really, when you think about it, the higher benefit amount now commands more of an increase because you have the cost of living adjustment.
And so that adjustment will always be the same percent, but it'll be fewer dollars.
Right, right. And dollars is really what we want to look at.
Yep.
And then it shows what about if you wait to age 70. And of course, if for the folks that's full retirement age is at 66, you can see that it's 132% more if you just wait to age 70. Big difference.
It really is.
So do want to mention, if you are already taking your benefits, there are some things you can do if it's realized that you have the wrong strategy. So you should absolutely talk to us. Certainly, if you've taken it within the first 12 months of claiming, it's really it's one thing. But even if it's more than 12 months, there are some alternative strategies that you can do in terms of voluntarily suspending the benefits. So we can talk about all those options and see if there's something that makes sense for you.
And by the way, there's another acronym here which we didn't put here, and that's called delayed retirement credits. And that's the difference in Social Security you get by delaying it each year. It's called the delayed retirement credit.
Everybody asks us all the time about the break-even. How many times do people ask you, Steve?
It's so dependent on a few factors. I mean, it's sort of a simplistic approach, but it's good. Gives you a good example.
Yeah, it's somewhere around 80, could be give or take.
Yeah.
So if you really are confident, somebody's told you the secret and you know that you're actually going to pass in your 70s, maybe you don't want to delay. But for most people, it does make sense to delay, not just because of this break-even component, but when you're older, wouldn't you like that quality benefit to be as high as possible with that cost of living adjustment on it? Very few people, even if you have a pension from your company, most likely,
which are rare these days, but
right, they're rare. And what's even more rare is a pension with a cost of living adjustment on top of it. Most people don't have that at all. So
very rare.
Yeah.
I want to mention one thing about Social Security most people don't realize is that for somebody who starts at 62 versus somebody who starts at 70, both of those people will get the exact same amount of dollars in Social Security payments up to age 80. It's structured that way, believe it or not. So if you start up at 70, you're getting the same amount of money from 70 to 80 as somebody who started from 62 will get to age 80. But it's what happens after age 80 that's so important. And that's when you really start to see the difference in terms of dollars collected there.
So there are a couple, yeah, Steve already alluded to the fact that there's a big reason why you want to, when you're married, you want to potentially work on maximizing one of the spouse's Social Security at least. So, okay, fine. Maybe one of you takes it earlier, but the other one, maybe the one with the higher Social Security benefit waits till they're age 70. And the reason why you want to do that is the chances of one of you living later in life is pretty great.
Yeah.
And so as long as you were married for 9 months and you're not currently married, you're entitled to survivor benefits. I should say there's exceptions to this though. If in fact the death was accidental or occurred while in line of US military duty, there's no length of marriage requirement.
Okay.
And if you're disabled, so generally with the survivor benefits, you can take it at age 60, not even 62. Again, it's discounted, but it's still available to you at age 60. If you're disabled, you can take it at age 50. And by the way, if you're caring for a child under the age 16, which sometimes we'll see this because of a lot of, especially blended families, second families where there's a younger spouse, and we'll see a situation where there still are children under the age of 16, or they're disabled, and then they get any age. So they also get benefits as well. And so there's nuance. There are definitely a lot of nuances, and you want to make sure that your specific situation is accounted for.
Yep.
Comment down here about remarriage. Oh, so one of the things that some folks don't know until it's too late is that
yes,
your spouse passes and you're under the age 60 and you get remarried, you do not qualify any longer for the spousal benefit. And that can be a real problem because a spousal benefit. So now, okay, fine. You can say, well, now I can get a spousal benefit from my new husband. Well, the spousal benefit is only 50% of their benefit, whereas the benefit from survivorship is 100%. So that could be a difference. So
if you're close to being 60, you may want to hold off getting married. Seriously. Yeah.
If you're over age 60, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping you there, but it's really if you're under 60.
And these are the types of things people come to us to have us look at, just to make sure you don't make a mistake that could cost you down the line, potentially.
Yeah, the problem is that they don't always come to us before
they make the decision.
Which is why I wanted to say that on this video, in case somebody just does it. For divorces too, you have to have been married for at least 10 years. But if you are divorced and you did not get remarried, or no, I'm sorry, you're not currently married. You could have gotten remarried, but now you're no longer remarried. So you're not currently married. You're entitled to spousal benefits. And that's good. Again, it's only 50%. It's not 100%, but it still is very good for especially homemakers or people that haven't built up their Social Security benefit. At least there's something there for you. So it's important to know that.
It is, exactly. It's an important benefit.
And when you take that benefit, your ex-spouse does not need to be notified. They don't know. You don't have to worry about that.
And it doesn't affect their benefit either, by the way. And you could start yours even though your ex-spouse didn't start theirs. There's only really no relationship between the start dates or anything else when you do this in terms of the ex-spouse.
Yeah, and there was one other comment there about I should mention that if your spouse is deceased, and this is where you may qualify for survivor benefits. It gets a little bit dicey in terms of who, so we would have to look at that unique situation.
Right, that's a good point, Laura. That it gets a little complicated then. Yep.
So we just wanted to throw out some things for you to think about if you're getting closer to the age of claiming this very wonderful benefit. It really should be thought about in the context of your overall retirement plan. And for those that are watching who are our clients, you have an overall retirement plan, a goal plan, where we've created a base, and maybe we made some recommendations for your Social Security claim strategy a couple of years ago, and now you're nearing the time where it's getting closer. I always recommend to relook at that, because sometimes things change and you may want to do something different.
Absolutely. Yep. And by the way, we could have probably done about 50 slides on this to fully explain all of the rules and regulations and all the different circumstances, even potential case studies that we've seen of people and what made the most sense in terms of what they should do for a claiming strategy.
You know, Steve, I feel like claiming Social Security is one of those so specific to individuals. People don't realize what we recommended for one, and I've seen this with new financial planners where we'll make a recommendation for one client, and they go and they talk to the next client and they say, oh, well, Diane, we recommended this, so therefore I need to, and I have to pull them out of the room and say, no, that was what was good for Diane. That's right. Has something different, and it's very specific to a person's circumstance. It really is. So it's really something that needs to be looked at, and it's pretty complex, the things we need to look at in conjunction with it. So absolutely. So hopefully you found this helpful. Again, if you have a specific circumstance that you would like to talk about, we're available. Please let us know, and we're happy to help. Thanks for listening to us, and hope to see you soon. Bye. Bye.